Yeah, we're all set. Okay, so can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Uh, okay, yeah, thank you. Good evening, everyone. So this brings us to the last day of the Royal Society of Biology Week, or Royal Society of Biology Showcase event that Cogito 137 ISA Kolkata has been conducting for throughout this week for the last 6 days or so. Um, it's been a great week, and congratulations to the team on our first international showcase event. With less than 2 years since we started, this has indeed been a wonderful journey. The videos for all the Biology Week sessions are available on our YouTube channel, and please feel free to share these videos with your peers and colleagues. We have tried to keep the content as general as possible, as simplified as possible, so that anybody with a basic understanding of science in general can understand. Although it was a bioscience popularization event, but it had quite a lot of variety plugged into it. So today's session, the last session, is a rather fun session. It has got to do with science illustrations, especially biology based illustrations. So our speakers today are actually our team members, and they'll be exploring through their session today. They'll be exploring different ways in which we can express biology from the very classical forms to some really atypical forms. So let me just introduce our speakers for the evening today. We have with us Arunima, who is a recent alumni of ISA Kolkata. She recently graduated with a BSMS degree, with her thesis dissertation being in cancer biology. She has a passion for both science and art, and to get the best of both worlds, she decided to join Team Cogito in October 2020. So, well, this is a bio that I'm reading out that she's written herself, and that's true for both of them. And I'll just go with it. She says she's smart, but only to herself, and funny, again, only to herself, but definitely not normal, which is something which apparently everybody agrees with. Well, we'll see. In her free time, she's usually found painting, playing sports, reading books, or drinking an excessive amount of tea. We also have with us Nirmiti, who is again a final year biological science student. At ISA Kolkata, and she's currently working on her thesis in consciousness. She's always been interested in behavioral neuroscience and metacognition. She's also an illustrator and designer for the team, same as Arunima. On discovering her passion for art during the pandemic, she decided to grace the team in November 2020, and we feel honored. Thank you, Nirmiti. Inquiring about her hobbies, she'll probably say that, I usually just paint and sketch. It might be hard to grapple with her artistic strokes, but when it comes to science, well, yeah, she puts on a more serious attitude of sorts. So it's really nice to have both of them here today. They are both artists, they are both designers, illustrators, and today they'll be taking us through this session. They'll be taking us through a journey where, you know, how do you use scientific diagrams and make them more accessible, simplify them, increase their appeal to a more general audience, for informational content, graphical content, even posters, and even just beautiful illustrations, given that it's biology themed. So yeah, welcome both of you, and yeah, over to you.
So, hi, good evening, everyone. First off, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Arunatadi. And thank you to Team Kojita and to give us the honor of having a session in Biology Week. It's such an honor to be closing out such an incredible week. We had amazing speakers throughout, and it's really absolutely amazing that today we both can also have a session here. So the session that we both thought of was from textbook to canvas, taking biology everywhere. So approaching all concepts in biology and seeing how we could illustrate it, whether it comes from somebody who has no creative instinct or no need to draw or no feeling to draw, or for somebody who is extremely expressive with their artwork. So, how can we introduce biology into their life? Very briefly, again, just about us. Hi, I'm Arunima, and that's
Hi,
Nirmal.
I'm Nirmiti.
And yeah, we're designers and illustrators in Team Kajita. And so it's because of that work that we have been able to find out all the different ways in which we could express ourselves from a more personal point of view as well as more a professional point of view in terms of illustrating all things scientific. So let's move into the presentation first off.
So let me start. So why do we need scientific illustrations in the first place? Why do we need to have different illustrations for like the science diagrams, and why do we need to have something more abstract or something more easy to understand, like scientific illustrations? First and foremost, that I can think of is to visualize and translate ideas into something visual. Like for example, we what do we like until recently we did not have any picture or any photograph or anything of any idea about what a black hole is, but by illustrations we can translate the idea of black hole, and by using the scientific properties or whatever we know or we studied about black holes into something visual, so that not only the scientists who are working on it currently can understand that topic, but for a generalized crowd. That's where the second point comes into play, like make science accessible to all. Now, as a scientist, I can understand complex diagrams and complex processes, but what about somebody like I'm in from biology? I can understand biological diagrams. So what if there's somebody with a math background with math background with no background of biology? What How will they have this access to the biological information that I'm studying? So to make it more easy for them to understand and for the public to understand, the non-scientific community to understand, we can have scientific illustrations which depict a complex scientific idea into something more easy to understand. Then we can visualize processes and things that which cannot be photographed. For example, what about the dinosaurs which were long back? We can't photograph them, can we now? So what we do is take we study the fossils, we study the climate, we study everything about that era, and then we use to artists with knowledge, with this knowledge, scientific knowledge, to conceptualize that topic into something concrete, like a dinosaur's picture. Then we have illustrations and animations that show processes. Now, how do I show a little kid what happens when I eat food, when they eat food? You can't see inside the body, can you? You can by other scientific means, but how can a kid understand that? How do we show easily and like clearly about what happens? So you have animations and illustrations for to show processes or some dynamic process. Now I'll explain over the examples of what I just talked about. Now, paleo art. Paleo art is something which is very famous, and it's a profession of sorts where you use the fossils, you recreate a animal from those fossils. Now, I have a fossil of a dinosaur. Now, how do I know what it looked like? I have the knowledge of paleo, and I'm a good artist, so I fuse them together and then I make something like a animal, like dinosaur. Now here, if you see in the diagram, you have the skeleton first, and then you by the skeletal structure you try to predict that okay, this is how the muscular structure might be, and then through that you put on a skin, and then you have like a full picture of dinosaurs. I think you might know those memes where okay, uh, hair can't be preserved like bones in fossils, so we don't know whether dinosaurs had long hair or not. But it's just a meme. Going on to the next one. Um, Now, science made easy and science for all. I think you might all be aware of all these three YouTube channels that I've showed in the slides. Three Blue, One Brown, Ted Ed, and Kursis. I don't know how to pronounce that name, but yeah. So these channels are epitome of how you can explain a complex scientific idea like linear algebra using animations and simple language to public and like public and it's easy to understand. So this is how we can use illustrations and animations to make things easy to and made it accessible to all. Like, yeah, these are public, it is accessible to all. But if a process or if the information is very hard to understand, not many people will access that information. So to make science accessible to all, it just does not mean that you make it public, but you also make it easy for them to understand or use that information. And I feel that these science channels and channels like these have done a great job on that. We go to the next one. Arun.
So when before we break down how to approach biology illustrations, I we thought we'd explain a few of the software that we first use in order to do so. So these are all of these are 2D softwares. I haven't gone into any 3D softwares here. But first, if we move on to the free software that are available, since I am pretty sure most people would be knowing about the paid software, but if you don't want to make such a commitment, you can always first try out the free software and see whether you want to move on to the paid software, whichever you're more comfortable with. So the first three in the free software, Google Snapseed, Adobe Fresco, and GIMP, they are all vector creators, as well as you can create mathematical logos, you can do picture editing, photo manipulation, and they have very similar tools to Photoshop and Illustrator, I would say. So these three tools you can start off with if you want to get an idea into more uh, typically digital graphic design kind of work. However, if you're more into illustrating, more freehand, more into drawing and painting and that kind of a thing, but you just want a digital touch to it, the next four software like Krita, Concepts, Inkscape, Autodesk, these four software really allow you to use your whatever digital workspace you have as a sketchbook page. A paid software that is also really, really easy to use, which is why it's so famous, is Procreate. But this is mainly for Apple products only, which is why you can kind of do freehand software in Adobe Photoshop also. Adobe Photoshop is a really powerful tool. Similarly, you can do it in GIMP also if you have that much patience. But yeah, so this is a broad breakdown of most of the software you can use. And finally, we have Microsoft PowerPoint. Now, PowerPoint is an absolutely great, great software for anybody to use. You don't need to have any kind of artistic background at all. It's really great for inserting images and creating basic flowcharts, basic scientific diagrams. You can create graphical abstracts. You can create posters, and it's so user friendly that anybody could use it. So yeah, these are a few software that you can use to get into illustrations and diagrams. So to break down what we will be talking about today, we broke it down into four categories. The first category is informational posters or educational posters. They're more so to use as announcements, to convey ideas, to you can use them in public spaces to sort of help public grasp an idea. For example, how vaccines work could be a poster that you can keep out in your city in many public areas. The second category is diagrams for publications or posters. So these are more typically scientific diagrams. They're they're less creative. They're not supposed to be extremely eye-catching. It's just supposed to do its job, which is convey the concept. And you can use this in your papers. You can use this in your poster sessions. The third category is infographics to be used in blog posts or articles. So these are typically more catchy. They catch the eye of the viewer. You want them to be shared more by people. You want the diagram itself to be so concise with its work that a tweet would help you convey exactly what your article was about. And the last concept is concept illustrations for articles or topics. So you take an article, you take a topic, and you come up with your entire idea, and you create your version of that idea rather than relying on information of that sort. So the first and fourth category would be explained by Nirmati, and I'll explain the second and third category. So moving on to the first one.
Hi. So the first section is about posters and how we make posters. This is the example of a poster that I made for Kujito for 2020 Nobel Prize in Medicine and Physiology. If you see the poster, the first and foremost thing or the center of the poster is the liver and hepatitis C. Now, this Nobel Prize was given for research on hepatitis C, so it conveys that on forefront. It was given to Dr. Harvey Alter for his work on hepatitis C using blood transfusion. If you see, I have made it clearly using the blood bags and liver and have connected them to show that oh, his work was transfusion. You can clearly get that idea from it. Then the second one was given to Michael Putin, which his work was on serum antibodies. By simple illustrations for antibodies and petri dish, I conveyed that okay, his research was centered around that. And for same for Charles Rice, and his was done for RNA transcripts. So if you overall in this poster you see I've connected these three research ideas to a main central topic with a central object or object of the illustration, which is the liver. And this is how it's a concise way of showing what exactly the poster is about, what the idea it conveys, and it tells you what it was like, what the research was on. But there's one tiny thing which I would like to add this. If it was a live session, it would have been easy. I would have asked you a question, what is it? But I'll just let you know that okay, I've not mentioned 2020 Nobel Prize in Medicine and Physiology on it. So that's the only missing piece. If that was there, I think it would have been a really complete and nice illustration. I have used Adobe Illustrator, Fresco, Snapseed, and Procreate in this. Procreate was used to make the diagrams like the liver with the little part of shading. I have used Fresco and Snapseed to arrange all those different components to it and add the text. And illustration was just to, in the end, just to arrange and give it a proper feel of a poster. Now, going over to the next one. This is a thesis blueprint that I did for my science communication lecture course, and it was on depersonalization and derealization, which is like a perceptive disorder. By putting a simple illustration of the man, I am separating my blueprint into two sides, depersonalization and derealization. And because I was working on two projects, I have simply written what my projects were going to be about, what I'm going to do in a small text box, like what my experiments are going to be, and how I'm going to make this into a concrete project. Uh, and I've used Adobe Illustrator and Procreate for Procreate for the illustration and Adobe Illustrator to put this all things together. But you can also use PowerPoint for these kind of illustrations because I've this kind of poster, but I'm familiar with Illustrator, so yeah. Going over to the next. So this is a scientific poster which was used for a conference, and it was illustrated by our very own Arunama. And this is a very these kinds of posters can be used for scientific conferences. Here, as you see, you have like a proper introduction, methods, results, discussions, future perspectives, acknowledgements, and references all together, put together in a very concise but neat way. There's the central part or the important part of the experiment was results, and that's why you can see it's the center object. If you notice, she has also put a QR code in contact. So this is a very good addition and advantage that we have right now of adding a QR code to our posters. You can link additional information or link the so if this was a paper, you can link your paper to the QR code. Whatever additional information that you want to provide to the observer or reader, you can just add that in the QR code. This was done by PowerPoint. So very good point about PowerPoint is that when you are making a poster on PowerPoint, it can be printed to a large size without without reducing the quality of your work. And hence, it is very common in conferences and posters in conferences because you need to print it out and explain. Yes. One of the good softwares, websites that I would use to make posters would be Mind the Graph. It's a free software, but it allows only one template that you can, of course, edit and use it again. Uh, yeah. So this is what you are asked, or this is what the software gives you. Design for Science, you can make graphical abstracts, posters, presentations, infographics. These are the templates that are easily available in the software. You can change the diagrams, you can add your illustrations. Going on to the next slide. So this is what you'll see when you open the website. Here on your left side, you have library templates. Templates will have different, like I mentioned in the previous one, like, so there was a template of a vaccination poster. So you have like ready-made templates and you can just edit it anyway. Then there are icons where you can search for the keywords and then you'll get all the pre-made illustrations offered by the software. Then you have molecule. Can you go to the next page? Okay, no, no.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah. So yeah, here are the few examples of what they have in. They have chemical structures. You have shapes. You have models and graphs, and these are the templates that they offer. So it's a very quick and easy way to make something, make a poster. So yeah,
Thank you. So moving on to the second category, which is mechanisms and diagrams for publications or scientific posters and work. So the three here, that is Cell Designer, Pathwiz, and BioRender. These three are websites. So I don't think you need to register in Cell Designer, but Pathwiz and BioRender, you'll have to sign up. It's free. And once you sign up, you can start creating work. And Cell Illustrator is a software you download onto your computer and then you start creating illustrations from. So these software are really good in helping sort of make more scientific diagrams, mechanisms, or cycles. So those kind of things you'd use these kind of program websites or programs. So for to explain one of them, to explain a mechanism, how you would approach making a mechanism, I worked on BioRender. So before you approach creating such a illustration, you need to have an idea in your head as to what are you trying to illustrate? What is the mechanism? What is the process that you're trying to illustrate? So for this session, I took an image which was from the CRISPR paper in Nature, and I chose to focus on this right-hand diagram of this, where Cas9 causes a double-stranded break in your DNA and how it helps in gene editing, essentially explaining CRISPR-Cas9 functioning. So now that I have the idea, the basis, this is what I'm trying to create. I don't want to plagiarize and just take their image and use it in my work. So this is the image that I'm trying to create. Similar to Mind the Graph, BioRender also has a library and icons that you can select and start working from there. So for example, first I went into cell types, and you can see the various cell types listed here, and all different kinds of, there's nucleotides, there's RNA, there is molecules. So depending on what you're trying to illustrate, you can always select that and go from there. Now I broke this image into three parts: the first part, the second part, and the third part. So I made all these three parts separately. So the first part contains a DNA with a break and a Cas9, a molecule around it. So that's what I created, a DNA with a break and a molecule around it. The second step is more the new DNA and the old DNA that they're trying to show. So I created the new DNA and I created the old DNA using a different color to show that it's a different DNA altogether. And that's the second step. And the third is finally with the gene edited into it successfully. And so that I showed with the different colored gene perfectly fit into both the DNA sequences. Now, the next step would be to make an image out of it, label it, and finalize that. So here we have the old image, which is taken from the paper, and here using BioRender, very quickly you could make a same image using a little bit more, having a little bit more of your idea, your visualization into it, and creating an image that you can use for your assignments, for your posters, however you want to do it. And this is a really good tool in order for you yourself to grasp the concept really well. Because as you make it, you'll have to understand where you're putting each molecule. So that helps you also really connect with what you're making, as well as helps other people visually connect with it as well. Moving on to the third category, which is infographics for blogs and articles. For this aspect, I again focused on mechanism related things just to show you the difference. So in the second category, here we have a very scientific illustration for this. However, if you were to make an infographic, you'd want to make it much more colorful, much more visually attractive. You want it to immediately capture the attention. There shouldn't be a lot of reading to do in it. And you want anybody, whether they know jargons or not, even if whether they understand the language or not, they should be able to see the image and be able to connect where you're going with it. So, which is why in the Feb issue for the Cogito magazine, I had worked with Mr. Bandyopadhyay to on an article um, uh, explaining about coronavirus vaccines, how the vaccines are made, as well as how coronavirus interacts with our body to create an immune response. So this was the first image, which is how the coronavirus vaccine can be made. How can it be developed? So using this as my basis, I created an image using Photoshop. I drew out the DNA structures, I drew out the antigens, I drew the arrows to make it a little bit more cartoony, less scientific, so that it is more appealing to the eye rather than looking at it and thinking, oh, this is another textbook image, to make it a little bit more appealing. Similarly, the second image, which is how our body would develop an immune response to the virus. So here we see in the basis, we have a basic flow chart, and then there are two pathways that are stimulated in our body. Rather than show that flow chart, I used a blood vessel to depict the two different ways in which that immune response could be developed. I mainly did this using Illustrator, and I tried to minimize the text wherever possible, keeping it absolutely only the essential information and letting the images communicate whatever I want to communicate. So posts like this, you can be a little bit more creative, a little less scientific, but still keep the information that is required to be communicated in it. And images like this communicate better with your audience. The brighter they are, the more they catch your eye, the more people would look at it and remember that image in their head. So while you're making such images for blogs or articles, you should keep that in mind. So moving on now to the fourth category.
Yeah, fourth category, concept illustrations. What are concept illustrations? Now you have an article, science, popular science article, and now um, you want illustrations to depict what exactly the article is going to be about. Not a scientific illustration that we saw in our previous sessions, but something which can give a idea, which can represent the what the article talks about, what is the person talking about. And these concept illustrations are mainly used in science magazines. Like if you know about Quanta magazine, going over to the next one, I this is my one of my favorite illustrations on Quanta magazine by Ryan Garcia. He has done this illustrations for the article Neuroscience Readies for a Showdown over Consciousness Ideas. Now, talking about the article talks about the two theories of consciousness, which were kind of like rivals against each other, and they are trying to prove their own theory so that they can disprove the other theory. So it's I now Professor Now talked about this in his talk about these two theories of consciousness, and it's a thing in consciousness research right now, the two ongoing theories. And in this illustration that you can see, there are two people with their brain open, and there's like a rectangle, sorry, the triangle two triangles, one is black and one is white, which represents a sort of like a yin yang or the idea of dualism. And here there are two theories. So, and also one reference to mind and body dualism. So, in all, if you see, it's a very smart but very beautiful illustrations of what the article is conveying, about what the article is about. And yeah, so this is what a concept illustrations look like. Now, I will give you an example of my artwork for Cogito. So I made a art concept illustration for Cogito and Decadence collaborative issue, and this illustration was for Science and Art Interplay article. I used Illustrator and Procreate for this illustration. Now, going over to the next slide. Yeah, so if you see, my illustrations is divided into two parts. One is left side and right. Left side, I've used this to convey like a left brain, right brain concept here. Left brain is for logic and hence science. So all my scientific references are at the left side of the illustration, and right side for right brain, which is for creativity. That's why hence art. So art, all the references to art is on the right side. Next, we have Albert Einstein on the science front and Leonardo da Vinci on the right front. Sorry, left and right, and they are kind of like in a showdown, like an art science interplay, the best of the both worlds here in the illustration. Next, we have organic molecules and atom and golden ratio equation in our science side. Now, why psychedelics and why organic molecules? Because psychedelics give you an altered perception of the world. You're tripping on the world and colors. You see colors. So I wanted some art reference. That's why psychedelic. Then planets and golden ratio equation, because golden ratio equation is a very scientific and mathematical thing, but it is used in a lot of art. And if you notice the Twitter logo or the Apple logo, it's made from golden ratio. So we have art, science in our art, which is golden ratio. Hence, it is there on the left side. Then on the right side, we have cave paintings. Cave paintings are one of the first human art creation that we have, and that's why I thought that it deserves to be here. It has to be here. And all these references, like especially the cave references, was mentioned in the article, and Albert Einstein and Leonardo da Vinci. Rest all is something that I felt that it must be, it should be here because yeah. Going over to the next one. So the center object of my illustration is the Vitruvian Man. Now it is a perfect example of science and art interplay because when Leonardo da Vinci created this piece, during that time, mathematicians did not have enough tools, geometric tools, to create a circle, a square of the same area of that of circle. It was famously called as a circle square area problem. And Leonardo da Vinci, using art, using his creativity, was able to do that, create a same area, circle and square using Vitruvian Man. So here you have like a perfect example of science and art interplay, and hence it is the main objective or the main object that I want the readers to, the main object of my illustration, and hence it's in the middle. Next, if you look closely, I have divided the Vitruvian Man into two sides. The left side we have blood vessels and electronics, so it's like referring you to a more scientific way. It's a scientific reference. And on the right side we have abstractionism, which is one of the most famous art forms used. So in all this, by all these concepts that I thought of, I have made science and art interplay concept illustrations. Here you can show your creativity and you can convey scientific or refer to these little scientific references that your article has in illustrations, like I did, for example, like the golden ratio or the Vitruvian Man. So it gives you it gives you a lot of artistic freedom.
And
Next.
I'd say the beauty with this is that there is no one else who interpret it the same way as you. So no matter what you make, it'll be unique.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, until and unless you explain it, it's gonna be unique. Like not everybody will get it, but I mean, if there are other scientists or like other people who are interested in something like this, might get an idea. Like I don't think many people will have, oh, this molecule is of a psychedelic, or hey, that is a golden ratio equation. But yeah, it's it's something that's unique to you because you thought about it. So yes. Uh, yes. So all these sessions, we explained why illustrations are a good way to channel your creativity, channel your work in a creative form. Why, like, once you can do that, once you can explain or illustrate what your work is, you understand it better and you make other people understand it better. So hence, it's very important that you have you engage in illustrations and illustration. Uh, yeah, and illustrations are a good way to engage other people, engage larger audience, not only your scientific crowd but also a public crowd or children, or you can inspire people to know science or learn science. So I think it's a really nice way to
And
propagate science.
it overcomes language barriers also really well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Arunima and I, we have a challenge for you. We want you to check out our issues, Cogito 137 issues, and create a piece with any article that inspires you. You can use the concepts or the softwares that we introduce, or you can better just tell us about some new software and tell us that, oh, I use this for creating this. We would be happy to know what you did, how you made it, and we'd be happy to see what you guys come up with. So please make be creative and tag us, tag Cogito137, tag Royal Society of Biology on Instagram, Twitter, or reach us at our email address. We'd
Yeah.
be happy to see what you guys come up with. Happy creating.
Happy creating.
Uh, we would like to thank Cogito for giving this opportunity. I would like to thank Arunima for being like a really good host, and Arunita for introducing us. And just thank you for listening.
And thank you to Nirmati also.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks to both of you. It's been a wonderful session. So I think Nirmiti, no, I think Arunima is presenting. Can you just go back to the previous slide? Um, yeah, so I think, okay, the question mark next to the hashtag, I'll just help them out there. It's perfectly fine. Feel free to use Biology Week 2021. And yeah, also feel free to use Cogito137 as a hashtag. We use it on all our posts and everything, and that will connect your work with our platforms, and we can reshare them through our platforms on social media. Okay, so this was a wonderfully, brilliantly curated session. I mean, very informational and very engaging at the same time, and ending with an activity. So I think it's like a perfect and beautiful conclusion to this week. So of course, huge thanks to both of you, and it's been an absolute honor to convene this event personally for me. It's been really special to see members from our team, undergraduate and graduate students like Arunima and Nirmiti themselves, emerging as leaders in science and psychom. And lastly, this is a pre-recorded session that you are viewing right now. So I'm really sorry that both of them won't be available for the Q&A, but they are our team members, and feel free to drop your questions in the chat, in the comment section of the video, and they will get back to you through them. So
Yep.
all the videos of Biology Week are available on our channel. Like, share, subscribe, like every other YouTube video, and of course, feel free to write to us for collaborative events. We are a student-run magazine, and we are always looking for interesting people to collaborate with, interesting organizations to collaborate with, and do good work and reach out to more people. Uh, if you are doing some similar SciComm related work with your own organizations, with your own platforms, feel free to write to us about them with your website link, and we would be more than happy to feature you on our website. So, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Happy creating.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Happy
Happy
creating.
creating. Bye. Bye.
Bye, bye, bye.